Inner-Fight Endurance Q&A show 33.
33.
33.
Wow. Okay.
I know. We're going on. I say it every week, to be honest, mate, but we should always know which show's coming next. But I'm always surprised to see now we're in the 30s. What comes for future shows? Who knows?
Right. Lots of fun and some good questions, I hope.
Yeah.
Talking of which.
Got 3 today.
Oh, okay.
Not too bad. Show sponsors, doing the carousel thing. I think I might be going the wrong way, so could either be that way or that way.
Maybe that way.
Let's get on with the questions, I think. Do you want to pronounce the first name?
I'm going to have a go.
All right.
Because normally you do this bit, right?
Yeah.
At Sjord Hoyer. And I think that could be nailed.
Nailed. What's he asked, mate?
Okay, so he's saying he's running his first 2 half marathons in April and May. And what advice would we give for a beginner?
Go ahead.
So we've got a bit of experience with this. I think there's a couple of things. One is obviously to do enough training between now and then to make sure you're fit enough to run it. I think that would hopefully go without saying. And then I think something that we've had real success with our athletes over the last couple of races has been obviously to have a plan in terms of your pacing, so you know roughly how fast you want to run and what that means pace per kilometre. And if we assume and hope that it's a flat half marathon, what we've seen with the guys is we'll say let's say for example you want to run a 1:45, and that means 5 minutes a k is your average speed. And what we've actually had our guys do is to set their watches up so that they get a lap time and a lap average pace and their current pace for each kilometre. So they're literally ticking off kilometre by kilometre by kilometre. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And it helps you to focus on the here and now rather than thinking, oh man, I've got 15k left, 12k left, etc. So you're just focused on that next kilometre. And we've seen guys deliver and execute amazing races doing exactly that. We had a guy, Desert Hatu, who asked a great question last week, and his basically instructions were to run a specific pace for 19k, and then if he had anything left to go, and his first 19k, there was 4 or 5 seconds difference in pace between his first 19k, which I think is unbelievable.
Yeah, that is really good.
Yeah,
that's the main thing you're going to get from a coach taking you through a half to full marathon plan. Is actually some idea of what to expect in terms of pacing. So yeah, I think that's a great bit of advice, especially for beginners. And a lot of people just start their watch and go see what they can do.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get carried away in the first couple of kilometres, and all of a sudden you're just slowing down the second half, and that's where you bleed a ton of time when that happens. So if anything, start a little bit conservatively and build towards the back end as the race goes on.
Yeah. You're also running 2 quite close together in April and May. It might be beginning of April and end of May, so it may not be that close, but I would work out now like sort of how you're going to recover in between, what training might look like between 2 half marathons, because you won't really improve any fitness between 2 races that close together, but you can certainly lose it if you do too much and get injured.
Yeah.
So really be prepared to not actually be training a great deal between the 2 races, but still to be doing a lot of quality work without all the fluff that might get you injured.
Yep. Excellent. Awesome.
Cool. Next up, I can do this name, mate.
Okay, yeah, we're okay with this one.
Back on track. From @mark_DXB_IQ. What's the IQ stand for?
Intelligence quotient.
Yeah, fair enough.
Maybe.
What is your favourite (brackets most beneficial) session you set for the Inner-Fight Endurance crew, both for bike and run? You had your answer like
yeah, I know what my answer
mate.
is. I just spoke to Mark actually about half an hour ago. He's getting ready to rock and roll for Colombo. My favourite is without question the Naz Brick Classic. And I love it for so many reasons that I could be here all day talking about it. Mark's done it, he knows how it looks. It's just the best team event ever, especially off handicap, and everyone sort of finishes roughly together. Turns into a bloodbath every time. Brilliant. That's my favourite.
Yeah. What's most beneficial, mate?
I think that is it depends question. I think if your speed is good and your endurance is not, endurance is better. If your endurance is great and your speed is down, speed.
Yeah. I honestly think Track Tuesday sets us aside from a lot of other endurance clubs out there.
Yeah.
It shows how many people we have coming there, but the same thing after every Tuesday, and we see it on Instagram, our stories full of it, is people saying how they push themselves like they would never do if they did that session on their own. And I think that is a real benefit to most people.
Yeah.
But I think here as well, with Al Qudra, with the kind of training environment, I would probably say of most benefit to people who are training out for the Inner Fight crew are training in Dubai, some more just long, I call them adventure days, where you don't really know where you're going to go.
Yeah.
You pick a cafe on a map and you say, well, I'm going to cycle to there, and if I feel good, I'll go a bit more, and if not, I'll come back.
Yeah.
And you might do 5-6 hours. I think that would benefit a lot of people here, because I think people get really hung up on timing of intervals and weather.
Yeah.
People messaged me yesterday morning for Tuesday, is track still on? And I was like, why? What's going on?
Some sort of apocalypse.
Yeah. And it was just a bit of wind.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's and you get that when you come from the UK or other parts of the world where you just go out for a long ride and you're just out there for hours and you stop for a couple of coffees. And I think that it's hard to recreate that here around Al Qudra. It's maybe not quite so interesting, but
can't get lost.
But
no fun.
but hatter rides, 4 and 5 hour hatter rides, can't get enough.
Yeah, so I think that would be a big benefit to a lot of the guys.
Yep.
Cool. I've got to say my favourite is the Naz Brit Classic.
It's out of this world.
Yeah.
Love it.
It is super fun.
Good.
Right, last question of the day, and we've got a bit of time for it. It's a bit of controversy in there, maybe. At Hess1, creatine and endurance athletes. I read it doesn't help, but shouldn't it help when you do interval training? Well, where did you read it doesn't help would be it certainly wasn't Ben Greenfield's book, because he loves a bit of creatine.
Doesn't he just?
And it's the most, I think, widely researched supplement within sports science. Yeah. It's been around since a long, long time, and it basically helps to regenerate ATP, which is our real fast fuel, basically. So the real strength, strongman, it's all known for that, because it's really high regeneration of ATP. So that's why it's used and what's studied with it the most. But it is studied within endurance athletes, and basically because it regenerates your ATP really fast. Basically, if the study has done a test on an endurance test that involves some sort of anaerobic exercise, it will benefit them. If the study is just on oxidative capacity, so ride steady for an hour, we'll look at your watts or heart rate, drift or whatever, or VO2 consumption, then it won't have much an effect. But when it's sort of 40-minute all-out time trials or VO2 max tests, because there's an anaerobic element to those tests within the study, it's shown to help. There's other effects of it. It can help with buffering lactate, which obviously is going to pass on to helping in the anaerobic effects. But because you never get a buildup of lactate in steady aerobic rides, then you won't get the benefit there. But that doesn't mean to say it's not of benefit to endurance athletes, because a lot of endurance athletes need to use a bit of anaerobic fuel every now and then.
Yeah, exactly. And not so much in racing, but in building strength and power with running and riding and swimming, excuse me, for sure. Yeah. I think a lot of endurance athletes simply don't do enough short, hard efforts. And I think that's, from what I've seen and read and exactly what Tom is saying, that's where you get more benefit in training than racing, for sure.
Yeah, and it's also can be used to help with soreness after strength days, because again, you're regenerating muscle tissue faster than you would without it. But the key to it is we've got really quick time left, but one is what protocol are you using? That isn't known. So you can load up with it, or you can take it sparingly, a lot of it, but over months. And then also it's known to be found all sorts of other things within creatine. So just be careful where you get it from
Yes.
and where you're buying it from.
Yep.
Good.
That helps.
That's it for this week.
Awesome.